everybody. Welcome to Mining Camp 2021. We're doing the camp online again this year, and this of course has the big advantage that you can join from anywhere. And I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you from wherever you are watching. We are very happy to have you here, and it's great to have you all as part of the camp. What we have planned for this week is to have 1 week of process mining, but to keep it relaxed. So we have approximately up to 2 hours of program per day, and it's streamed right here on the camp website where you're watching this at the moment. So it's freely available. Anyone can watch it here. So if you see a particular presentation or some part of the program that you think could be interesting for a colleague or friend of yours, you can just point them here, and they don't have to sign up or anything. But at the same time, in addition to the broadcast sessions, we do have our camp community on Slack, and Slack is a mix of discussion forum, messaging platform where we can communicate with each other. And this is the place where you can share your thoughts and ideas, comments and questions during the presentations. And we will keep an eye on those comments while we're on the air, and we try to incorporate them in the discussions that we are having. But of course, in addition to that, you can also talk among each other and get to know process miners from all over the world. So since Friday already, people have been coming in, putting up their tents, and I've seen welcome messages from many different places, like for example, in the United Kingdom, Peru, South Korea, United States, Brazil, Denmark, Poland, Switzerland, and so on and so forth. So if you're not yet in the camp Slack, then register now and say hello to your fellow campers and let us know where you're joining from and join the discussion. And so to be part of the camp community, you do need to register for camp, which if you haven't signed up yet, you can still do it. It's very easy. You can just do it here on the camp website in the upper right corner. There's the button where you can sign up. And once you have registered for camp, in the confirmation email, you will find the link that you can use to join our camp community on Slack. Now, camp is really about the practical application and about process mining as an analysis use case, right? This is the core contribution, the core capability of process mining. What it is all about is that we can really understand our actual processes based on the data and understand how they really look like. And based on those insights, we can take actions to improve them. And as organizations are also looking at other techniques, neighboring techniques, like, for example, prediction or automation technologies, process mining becomes even more important, because we really do need to understand the process reality before you can predict, automate, or monitor anything, right? So process mining really is the analysis tool that provides us the visibility to understand our current process reality, to take any next steps. This is already the 10th camp. Process mining camp is always the highlight of the year for us. We're looking forward to it the whole year, every year, and it's the one time of the year where we can all get together and exchange experiences. And this is so important because process mining is not just a tool, it's a discipline, it's a method, and there are a lot of things that you need to know about it that can go wrong, or where you can learn from each other, right? So so it's really interesting to see how other people are applying the techniques, what has worked for them, but also maybe what was difficult for them, and what we could maybe avoid the same mistakes that they have been doing. And what is also interesting to see is that process mining is used in many different areas. And one thing I've done, and let me share this through some slides with you here, is I've looked at the process mining camp presentations from the past 9 years, And I was trying to look at how could we maybe categorize them or group them together. And we can see that there's many different industries, first of all. A lot of the presentations are from the financial services industry. There's also insurance companies that have shared their stories, but also production companies and logistics or government use cases or healthcare and utilities and telecom and software and services. So this would be one of the groupings that we could make of all the presentations that we have shared and seen over the past years. And often what you see is that people are interested in seeing examples from their category, right? So, for example, someone working in financial services is interested to see cross-mining examples also from this domain. But we could also actually look at the space in different ways. For example, one way would be to look at the type of the process. There's, for example, supporting processes like procurement processes or IT service management processes that are actually quite similar across these different industries. And of course, there's a lot of many more different types of processes that are quite unique in these different industries. But another perhaps more useful way to look at this is, in my view, is to look at what I like to call use case perspective. So the use case here is more about the background of the people where they're applying process mining in the organization. And although they're all using the same process mining tool and maybe doing even similar analysis, the context in which they are doing this is quite different, right? So, for example, in the top right corner, you see process improvement teams. Now, process improvement teams, they are usually organized in a central group in the organization, maybe as a Lean Six Sigma or BPM or process performance team, and they work together with the different business units in different departments to help them improve their processes. And they maybe don't always have all the domain knowledge. That's what they work together with the subject matter experts at these departments for. But they have the process improvement skills and change management skills and have a lot of knowledge that helps in the process improvement space. And then so they built their process mining skills on top of those existing capabilities, and they can then perform more effective and faster improvement projects in their companies. Another group that's quite different is in the lower right corner, we see the auditing people, right? So auditing use cases are also very interesting for process mining, but the focus is usually not process improvement, but the main focus is the compliance of the process. Is the process actually performed in the way that it should be performed? And so this is what the focus lies on if an internal auditor or also external auditors, or maybe even government or European auditors when they're looking at processes. Now, a third group in the top left corner is also interesting. I called them here process owners. And what this means is that these are people who are very close to the operational process. Maybe they're responsible for the process themselves or, very close to it. And that means they actually have the domain knowledge to fully understand what the process is about. And process mining enables them to go into a really tight interactive analysis and improvement loop without having to rely on external consulting teams or IT projects to get a report, that answers a specific question. If they can get their hands on some data for their process, they can really independently analyze the process, improve it, take actions based on that in a great way. So this is like another group, and we see customer journey use cases as another interesting use case, which I have put separately here. It's also kind of a process improvement use case, but it's it's usually done across all departments, and it's really being done from the perspective of a customer, right? So how does the customer communicate and interact with our organization? And often, and usually the focus of these customer journey analysis is not so much of saving costs or making the process more efficient, but it's really about the customer experience. So how can we ensure that, for example, the the communication or the navigation flow on a website is as intuitive or as easy to navigate for the user. So there are interesting examples that we have seen, and there are all kinds of interesting IT use cases, like for example, new IT systems that need to be set up, legacy systems, or automation use cases, analyzing software development processes, and so on. So what I would recommend to you if you are new to process mining and you are thinking about where can I find examples for what other people have done with process mining before, don't just look into your own industry, but also think about your own background and try to find examples that have been done in this area. For example, if you're an improvement professional, then those stories will be particularly helpful for you. And you can find all of the videos from these past presentations from the past camps on the camp website. So you can watch them right there and learn from what people have shared in the past. Now, what's really interesting is that by doing this and coming together every year and learning from each other, we are building on the knowledge that we have about this new technique, right? Process mining is still a relatively new technique, and there's no defined methodology like how to do this. So in a way, we are all together building this together. And so over the years also, based on what we've learned at camp and what we hear from people in between, we have started to put together the process mining methodology. And very recently, we have started to put this together in a project guide, right? So the process mining methodology that we all defined together and work out over the years basically can be broken down in these 12 steps that you see here, where the first step in this 12-step project guide is the process selection, which has already been published. So it's on the blog where you can find it. So this is basically the place where if you're new to process mining and you're thinking about which process should I analyze, maybe there are multiple candidate processes that you could look at. So which one is more or less suitable for process mining? So which one should you pick? And this first article in the series gives you guidance on that. Now, currently we are working on the second step, the project plan. And when you make a project plan, there's different things that go into that. But one of the ingredients that you need to think about in this stage is also how process mining fits into your current way of working, right? So like we've discussed before, there's different roles or different contexts in which process mining can take place. And process mining does not replace this current way of working, but it needs to fit into this current way of working. So when you learn about process mining, it's not just about understanding the tool and what you can do with the tool, and not even just the methodology of everything, like how to handle the data and that part of the discipline and the method, but also looking at your own organization, who is going to perform the process mining analysis, when, and how does it fit into their day-to-day work and responsibilities. And so what we see is that not just do we need to define a methodology for process mining, which we are doing, but you also need to think about which methodology around process mining you have. And you actually need a methodology around process mining. Process mining itself is agnostic to which type of methodology you use around it, but you need something, right? Because process mining itself does not tell you what the right answer is and what you should do with those insights that you get from this process visibility, but that is something that is driven by the methodology around it. And which one this is, again, depends on your context and role. So for example, one that's quite popular in the process improvement space is the Lean Six Sigma DMAIC framework, right? So DMAIC stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. And for example, when we are trying to fit our 12 steps from the project guide into this framework, we see that in the define phase, we have the process selection where we choose the process we want to analyze. We have the project plan. And then afterwards, we are defining the questions that we want to answer in our process in our project, and we are thinking about ethical considerations as well, right? So that's a really important point where we think about which data do we actually need, which data are we allowed to use. So for example, in Germany, you usually have to seek permission of the Workers' Council if you're analyzing employee data of any form, and so you need to think about whether you can avoid that or how to align and in any case clarify what you want to do with your analysis, what the goal of the analysis is, right? So this is part of the define phase. And then in the measure phase, you're actually getting the data, reviewing the data once you get it back. Is it suitable for your cross-mining analysis? Sometimes you need to transform the data further, put, for example, different data sources together, or put it in the right format. And then, of course, a very important point is that you need to validate the data quality. So you need to go through the data quality checklists and really see whether there are any problems with the data and clean them before you continue any analysis. And in the analysis phase, you have the explorative analysis and the targeted analysis, where in the explorative analysis, you're trying to understand the process in the first place, right? So without even asking specific questions and understanding what really, how the process really looks like, can show you some things that you maybe didn't even think about asking. And it's important to get the overall understanding. And then only afterwards you're focusing on the actual questions that are the focus of your project. And then you're getting a list of improvement ideas which need to be prioritized and actually implemented, right? So here the actual change in the process happens where something in the process is actually changed, maybe reorganized, maybe automated, maybe in some other way done differently, so that you can get the improvement. And then with the control plan, you need to account for, well, how can you actually check and when will you check whether the improvement that you have made was as effective as you had hoped it would be. Now, this is one way to look at this and to embed the cross-mining methodology in the overall DMAIC, Lean Six Sigma framework, but we can also, in a different context, we would use a different framework around it. For example, here we can see the auditing framework that was presented by Dave from CSET, also at Cross-Mining Camp a few years ago, and I was actually sitting together with him and we were looking at how these 12 steps fit into the 4 phases that they go through in their internal audit procedure, which is that first they have a preparation phase, then there's the fieldwork phase, then there's the reporting phase, and then the follow-up phase. And in these 4 phases, the different cross-mining steps apply and fit in. And just as a last example, another popular framework is the plan, do, check, act cycle, where you also go through these steps in a repeated manner. Now, this is again another message I want to give on your way. Don't just think about cross-mining as a tool, learn about the methodology around it, but also think about the context in which you're applying it in your own organization and which methods and frameworks you are already using, and be really conscious about that and see how cross-mining fits into those and work that out as well. So, a lot of things are important to think about and learn about here, but even more important is that you need to put this in practice. So it often looks very easy once you see cross-mining being applied somewhere or if you read about it, but you need to really apply it. And that was very important for us, where we said, well, we really want to also give you the opportunity to get into the practical mode, the actual application mode yourself during camp. And for that we have created the cross-mining lab. And in the cross-mining lab, you can really apply cross-mining yourself. And the lab is being organized by Rudy. So I would like to welcome Rudy. And Rudy, please tell us all about what is the lab about?
Yeah, great. Yeah, so we can talk about process mining all day long, right? And we are going to do this at camp. But with the process mining lab, as a part of camp, we also make process mining applied. And I can remember when I imported my first data set. It was years ago. And then I get very excited to see this visualization. But I also quickly realized that, what do I need to do now, right? So I can see this visualization. I can see these paths. I can see these spaghetti diagrams. But what's kind of the next step? So we created this process mining lab such that you can experience process mining and that we can also experience it together and then share these best practices. So this lab is really hands-on. So we provide the data sets, we provide some challenge exercises, and then we get into a live session where we can share these best practices together. So it's really hands-on. It's not even a training, but you can practice by yourself. And we have developed and designed 3 lab sessions. So the first lab session is the exploration lab. So especially when you analyze a process for the first time, then you need to try to make sense out of it, right? So people used to creating process maps or value stream mapping exercises. And they have this kind of linear type of processes. And with process mining, it's kind of the other way around. You capture the data, and then from the data, you try to understand these processes. So that's all about identifying the process itself and then learn new things about the process. So that's what we refer to as process discovery. So that's the exploration. And the challenge for that is already available in the lab channel on Slack. So you can check it out. There are all the instructions to get started with the first lab challenge. And we can meet together in a live session tomorrow to discuss the solutions together. So after the session tomorrow, we are going to release the next lab challenge, and that will be the spaghetti lab. So especially if you have a process which is very complex, so not the traditional business processes where you expect a particular linearity of the process itself, but a process where you can see a lot of variation, where there is not a single type of process. For example, in the use case where you look at click streams of customer journeys, for example. So that's the spaghetti diagram where you end up with this very complex spaghetti diagram. And then you really need to focus on particular things in order to identify interesting things. So the second lab challenge is all about approaching this particular type of use case and problems and challenges which comes with that. And the final challenge will be released on Wednesday, and the live session for that will be held on a Thursday. It's all about the data, of course. So data is the important ingredient in order to apply process mining. So without data, there is no process mining at all. So data needs to be prepared in a certain way, and there are different ways where you can also transform or manipulate the data in a particular way to learn even more about the data. On Thursday we are going to look at some of the examples of what you can do with the data, where you not think about directly, but kind of interesting. And the lab sessions, everyone can join them. So you don't have to have any experience with process mining, but each of the challenges kind of build up. So they start relatively easy, of course, but they get more complicated as you go. So also if you have a lot of experience with process mining, then you can still learn something new. So I hope to see you at one of the lab challenges during camp.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rudy. I think that gives a good overview what the lab is about. Maybe one last thing I want to mention is that we realize that because people are joining from all over the world, it's not easy for everyone to join all the sessions live. So, for example, we have a lot of people participating, for example, from the United States and South America, for whom the lab sessions are a little bit too early. So that's why we are also trying to record the lab sessions and provide the video just internally within the camp lab channel for the ones who couldn't watch it live. So even if you're in the US and you think, I can't participate anyway, you can actually. So you can do the challenge and then watch the recording and then still ask your question and communicate with all the other campers who are already in there attempting the challenge together.
Yeah. And please let us know your experiences in the Slack channel, so I can also bring in some questions, for example, in Slack, and then they will still be part of the discussion in the live sessions.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rudy.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, let's go to let's give a quick overview about the rest of the program. We have a great program for this week. So again, we have presentations from many different areas. So if we're looking at the slides here, so now they're going further. So for example, today we have a presentation from Dan Jabroer from Volksbank. So again, that's financial services industry. So one area. Then tomorrow we are having the presentation by Andreas and Jasmin from the city of Vienna. So that's from the government, public administration area. So again, from a different field. And then on Wednesday, we have a presentation from the production area. Minchao and Klaus are talking about their experiences at Wacker Chemie, a German manufacturing company. And then we have Gary from Cox Communications on Thursday, again from a very different field. And so in addition to those experience reports in the practice talks that we are providing, our speakers are providing their experiences, what worked for them, what was difficult, and share their knowledge so we can all learn from them. Afterwards, we have a daily cafe, and the daily cafes also go into these different use cases. So we want to explore process mining from all these different angles. So for example, on Monday, we are looking at process improvement, where Dan will be joined by Sudendo, and we're talking about what you need to know and what the best practices are for process mining improvement use cases. And then on Tuesday, we're looking at auditing, process mining and auditing, where Andreas and Jasmin are being joined by Mieke Jans. And then on Thursday, we're looking at, again, process improvement, but in this case more focused on the production processes. And then on Thursday, we're taking a little bit the perspective of the process owners, where people analyze their own processes. And Gary is joined by Carmen and Javier. And after the closing keynote by Will van Aalst on Friday, which is almost a custom already at camp, we have also another daily cafe where Will is being joined by Manuela Veloso, who's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, but also head of AI research at JP Morgan Chase. And so Will's closing keynote will be about automation versus not automating processes. And we will continue the discussion with Manuela about AI and robotics and how this all works together with process mining. So really excited about what we have in front of us for this week. Share your ideas, your thoughts in the general channel on Slack while we are on the air, and keep on the discussion in between. And what we will do now is we will just go into a brief break. So don't go anywhere. We just switch out some technology in the background, and we bring in Dan, our first speaker, for the first practice talk of this year's camp. So see you in just a few minutes, right here in the same place.